Hi, listeners. Welcome to the She Speaks Life podcast, a weekly encouragement where we share our God stories. I'm your host, Jayme Elizabeth, and I am so glad you are spending time with us today to listen. Hi, listeners. Welcome to She Speaks Life podcast. I'm so glad you're here today. I have a very special guest. Her name is Alex Hart, and I met her through church one day, and she has just been a special friend ever since. And we really got to know each other through our women's ministry group and just pouring in each other's lives and praying for the season that she was in at the time. Hi, Alex.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. I'm so glad you're here. We're here talking about forgiveness and God's goodness, and Alex just has a wonderful God story about truly forgiving people who we often find it's hard to, but with God's help and God's love, we can. So I'm just going to have Alex begin with her story on forgiving somebody when it was really hard at the time to do so.
So a little backstory. I was living in Austin, and my parents, growing up, we moved from place to place, country to country. My mother, she came from a family, divorced parents, and it was during a time that divorce was not very well accepted in the community and in society to be divorced. And so she was growing up without a father, and her mother was not very kind towards my mother's father, my grandfather. And I remember being with my grandmother, and we cannot mention his name. So I remember growing up not being able to be around my grandfather. And as time would pass, there were some traits that I noticed from my mother that she wasn't very forgiving and made it difficult. So fast forward 13, almost 14 years ago, I was married and I moved from Austin. I thought Austin was the smallest town that I had ever lived in, but we moved to Atlanta, and this is where he grew up, and it was on a ranch. And so we built our home there. 10 years ago, my children were born, and we had boy-girl twins. And so we had this life living on a ranch. We would go to church and had our church family. I led Bible studies. He led Bible studies. So everything on the outside looked like it was perfect.
Right.
So then what happened about it's been over 2 years now. He allowed somebody to hurt me. And it was in front of one of her children, and it was very ugly. So I struggled with it, didn't quite understand. And so through this time also, we were living on his family ranch. He had to obey his parents still, and we were under his parents' control. And so I had asked him several times if we could move away from the ranch. We couldn't really make decisions for our family without his parents' interference. And so it was very difficult, but like I said, on the outside, it seemed like we had a perfect family. So the beginning of last year, there was a group of men that went hunting on the ranch. And so he was one of the guides. Him and his brother do guided hunts on the ranch. And so this group of men, they go out there, and they were from a church here in Austin. And through a conversation, it came out that one of them bought my parents' house from Austin. Well, what they didn't realize is that going back into my mother, speaking about forgiveness, her relationship with her father, there was some issues with the mother. And, we had an estranged relationship, and we had not spoken to each other for about 12 years. And so to bump into somebody who had purchased my parents' house, this is my mom and dad who I had not spoken to in 12 years.
Oh, wow.
So they invited us over to church. It was just very strange, for out of all the places that they could have gone hunting, they chose to go hunting, and it happened to be the ranch where one of the men had purchased my parents' house.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in coincidences. So
Right.
that was a little bit too much.
Yeah.
So they invited us over to church, and I was like, we have to go. What does this mean?
Yeah.
So we show up to church the following Sunday. I was a Sunday school teacher, and it just happened, coincidence, that I was not going to teach that Sunday. And so it was my one chance to go. So we show up to church, and now we lived in a very small town, a few churches, and it was the typical pastor up there with his coat and tie, and we all sang from the hymnals, and it was a retired community, so there was a lot of older men and women, and so it was more of your very old traditional church, maybe from
Sure.
the 1920s, not sure, but somehow it got stuck in the 2000s here. And so we show up at this church, and well, the first thing that caught my attention, how loud the music was. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. I didn't realize I was walking into a rock concert, but okay, here we are.
You know it's loud when they provide earplugs in a little basket that you can choose to put in your ears.
And I used one.
Did you?
And I did. I had to put some earplugs in. Like, wow.
Yeah.
I don't anymore.
Yeah.
I've gotten used to it.
Good.
And then the pastor walks up in skinny jeans and a Hawaiian shirt. At that point, I checked out and started my grocery list. But the more he preached, the more he grabbed my attention. And I started feeling the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And I remember listening to how we're just following along, and then suddenly God catches our attention. I'm like, okay, you've got my attention now. What is it? And I went home thinking, something's not right. Something is not right in our lives, and I couldn't explain what it was. So my prayer was, and it became my prayer almost every day, Lord, just reveal to me what my sin is. Reveal to me what our sin is, so that we may be able to provide a safe haven for our children. Something just didn't feel right. I didn't know. Part of it maybe went back to what had happened a couple of years ago. And but I couldn't really pinpoint what the problem was.
Right.
And I kept praying, and I kept praying. And the more that I prayed about it, things started collapsing around us. And our marriage, which was not very strong, just simply fell apart. We started going to marriage counseling, and we just did nothing.
Yeah.
And so as I'm pushing forward and I'm praying, January 2nd, I got served divorce papers. So here I am, a stay-at-home mom, homeschooling our children, living on a ranch. And now I'm like, Lord, I've been praying, and this is not fixed. This is not creating a safe haven for our children.
Right.
This is not right.
No.
So I'm reaching out to everybody, and I'm like, please pray for our marriage. Pray for a miracle, that things will be healed, that what's broken will be mended. And I'm looking for just a huge miracle. It's going to be a big miracle. And in the meantime, I know that he has always had a full dependency on his parents, mainly on his mother. If you've ever seen the sitcom Everybody Loves Raymond, that was my life. So his mother had basically full control, and she did what she felt she needed to do. She had a very controlling personality, has always been that way. And I am headstrong too, and so it didn't always go very well.
Clashed a little.
It sure did. It sure did. I wanted to be the one explaining to my children about life, and let it be something that their dad and myself, we would just embrace it and tell our kids, and except she had a different plan. She wanted to be the one to tell them everything, and she felt the need to talk to my daughter, who was at the time 8 years old, to tell her about the birds and the bees, and inappropriate.
Yeah. Say the least.
In very graphic manner. Wow. So, like, okay, here we are homeschooling our kids to shield them, but yet,
we got grandma.
I got grandma.
Yeah.
Well, granny.
Yeah.
So here we are. We're now in the middle of divorce, and he was very clear. I was to use his attorney and to do as him and his attorney tell me what to do. Otherwise, I would lose everything. I immediately contacted some family members that I had. My family's from Chile, and so I had contacted some of them, which they immediately contacted my parents. And by the next day, so January 2nd, I was served divorce papers. By January the 3rd, my parents were on the phone. I mean, that immediately mended that relationship. There was then forgiveness that happened almost instantly at that point. Whatever our issues were in the past healed, and they turned around. My father, my dad, he was like, no, you're not going to use his attorney, and we're going to find you somebody. And they immediately hired somebody to represent me. So just that, it was already something that God was taking care of. Now God hates divorce, but he doesn't hate the people that are in it.
Right.
And so it got very ugly at the beginning. He would threaten to take the children away from me. His parents were pretty ugly as well about certain things that they were doing and what they were telling the children. So as time would pass by, and we live in a very small community, very small town, so our close-knit families that they were our friends kind of scattered. And so it kind of left me, some of the wives, they would help me and pray for me, and they actually sent me to counseling. And that was a godsend.
Yeah.
So I started with a Christian counselor, and one of the things that he would harp on was forgiveness. And I'm looking at him, excuse me.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. He's the one that has done all these things to me. And, he's the one that served me divorce papers, and he's trying to take my children away from me. And you want me to forgive him?
Right.
Can we just pause? Please pause that button.
Yeah.
And
if I do, it'll be later, not right now.
Not right now. Not happening. And so there was a bit of digging of heels at that moment. Well, I turned to my children and I looked at them, and they had no control over any of this.
Right.
And Dad is yelling, Mom is crying. They don't understand what is happening. So I turned to them, and my concern was their faith. I knew who God was. I didn't understand why he was allowing this, but I still have faith that he's going to see me through this. What it's going to look like and how he was going to fix our marriage, I don't know. So I turned to my kids and I told them, okay, guys, I know that you don't have control over what's happening right now, but I'm going to give you control over where we go to church. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, please let it be close by, and let it be either this church or this other church, but not that one here in town, because I know that particular church, they like to talk. And the next thing I know, both in unison, picked out the church that we had visited a couple of times last year.
Wow.
And I'm looking at them, guys, that is an hour and a half away.
Yeah, the furthest one.
Can we pick something closer?
Yeah.
Can we pick something closer? I don't know anybody in that church.
Yeah.
And besides, that is where your dad's clients are at. So, no. And my son, who was very quick, responded, but Mommy, you told us we could pick wherever we go.
Yeah, right.
So, okay. All right. It's on you. If you get up early, just in case, if you get up early, then we can go. But otherwise, we're not going to church. We'll go somewhere here close by. And every Sunday, they would get up early, and we would make that hour and a half drive, and we made it. And so my initial plan was to drop off the kids and then show up quietly in the back and show up late and then leave early, go get the kids and leave. And we were just going to be as invisible as possible. That was my plan.
Yes.
Except that the second Sunday that I'm there, I'm getting ready to leave quietly, And your husband stopped me
Yes, he did.
and said, where is your husband? And I started crying. And he just couldn't understand, why is this woman crying?
Right.
I just asked her where her husband is at.
Right.
And so he immediately took me over to somebody to pray for me. And so at that moment, I didn't have a choice but to say, okay, this is what's going on. And then I was surrounded by all these amazing people reaching out to me, texting me, calling me, reaching out every Sunday, praying for me and the children, and just a wonderful community. I really got to experience what church community was like.
Awesome.
And for months and months, they prayed and prayed and prayed.
Yeah.
And then they would ask me, Alex, what do you need? And my response would be, I need prayer. No, what else do you need? I'm like, right now it's prayer. So we went along with this. And in the meantime, my counselor keeps talking to me about this thing called forgiveness. So as I'm going through it, I'm looking at my children, and I had to learn to forgive their father for what he had done for their sake. And little did I know that it was for my sake as well.
Right. Yeah.
I had to forgive him. And almost every Sunday, I kept hearing the pastor say, lean into God. And he's explaining what leaning into is. Well, I'm an independent person. I can take care of myself.
Right.
I don't need anybody's help.
Yeah.
I've got it covered.
Yeah. It's often harder when we already have that personality in place.
And I have been that person who has
Yeah.
helped, single moms, that I've helped different charities, that I've led different organizations, that I've led a charity event. I was not going to be charity. It's just not going to happen.
It's not a good feeling when you're used to taking care of yourself and you're independent and you've just kind of done things your way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know what I want. I know that I can get it. However, as the divorce proceeded and I realized that there was no fixing of a marriage, I found myself in that position where, I am that single mom. I am in that position, and I can no longer, for their sake, not accept the help.
Right.
And so it was complete surrender, and it was a very humbling experience. And my prayer became, God, just bring to us what we need, take away what we don't, and definitely take away anything that will take us away from you. Just bring us what is going to bring us closer to you. And I'm looking at my children, and I want to make sure that they, for their entire life, they have had everything that they wanted.
Yeah.
And even what they didn't want, we still gave it to them. So I was just trying to be very cautious with them. And so I did, anytime that somebody helped us out, I always made sure that my children knew this is a help that we have received, and we were to thank that person. I didn't want them to think that it was coming from myself. I wanted them to know that it was coming from God, and how God was using other people to help us.
Right.
So it came down to the point to where I accepted the help. And within, it was just amazing how God just quickly started working once I surrendered, and once I allowed that to happen, and once I completely leaned into Him. In less than a week, I already had employment, a place where I could live, a church community that was gathering around. And in 5 days, they furnished the entire place. It was a 3-bedroom, a loft, a dining room, living room, even a utility room. Everything got furnished. Every single need was taken care of.
Amazing. That is so awesome. I love how the church community just got together and linked arms and provided you with all of that care. That is just a phenomenal story. I love that.
So my prayers became, I hear this often so much, where, oh, I can't pray that for myself, or I can't ask God to help me with this aspect. And my prayers started changing for, instead of praying for my children or praying for, the single mom that needed help, or for somebody who was, suffering an illness, I started not only praying for that, but then also praying for my children and myself, and for provision. And also I would pray, the enemy is so good at attacking us. Where does he attack us? If he wants to attack our society, he is going to attack us through our families.
Right.
And what a better way than to attack us through the fathers, through the husbands. This is the window. This is where they get, our children have a vision of who God is. And so I had to protect my children from what their father was doing and what he was causing, and trying to protect them, to protect their faith, and to strengthen their relationship with the Lord. And so praying for that, praying for their father, praying for the words to be confused. If he was going to say something that was going to hurt my children, then for the speech to be confused. And if the speech was not confused and it was going to hurt my children, then for their hearing to be confused. And there are times that I will ask for, Lord, if you don't want me to hear that, just confuse my hearing or confuse their speech. If I'm not supposed to say it, confuse my speech.
Yeah.
And,
what an amazing prayer, to confuse the speech, to guard their hearts, the kids' hearts and minds, so that they won't hear something they were not supposed to hear, and just confuse the words. I mean, I love that prayer. That's amazing.
And what I got to see is that we went from our children coming back to me with stories of what their grandfather or grandmother had said to them, or what their dad had told them, to then they were coming home, it's like, oh, we had a great time. And then nothing had been said. And either nothing had been said or they did not hear it. I don't know, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
As long as it did not reach their heart, I was happy.
That's so cool.
And so that is how God started answering that prayer.
Yeah.
That my children are no longer listening to that. And so yes, I do pray for speech to be confused, or the hearing to be lost during the time.
That's the best prayer. That's so cool.
So I did start praying for that. And how forgiveness became easier for me was leaning into God. When I leaned into Him, and it was Him, when I could clearly see that He was providing for us, that I no longer had to rely on people, on friends or family. God would bring the right people into our lives to take care of us. And I do like things to coordinate, and I do like for things to look pretty. But I prayed, Lord, just bring to us what we need, what is going to bring us closer to you. And so I had some very special pieces that I was bringing with me. I had a oil painting. This was my grandmother's oil painting, the last one that she painted before she passed away. I had a special rug. Like I said, my family's from Chile, and an aunt had given me this special rug. And then another lady had given me this other rug that was very special. And it's interesting, as the furniture came in, and I mean, we're talking, it was furnished within 5 days.
Within 5 days, and it was just from everybody locally in the community giving away a couch. One family had a table. It's not like you got all 5 pieces from one house. It was just sporadic, pieces of furniture.
A friend of mine, so at the time I had the Suburban that I had been driving for the past 6 years. A friend of mine was like, oh, I just bought a trailer a week ago. You want to borrow that? And we would go from place to place. Poor Shannon. Here we are. Okay, we're going to this address now. Okay, this lady is donating a lamp. Let's go pick up the lamp. This lady is donating beds for the kids. This lady is donating a dresser. And so here we are picking up. So next thing I know, And what's so funny, how God just takes care of our needs and our wants and desires. My children had asked for bunk beds for as long as they could say a word.
Right.
And
I think that's always a childhood dream.
Their
Bunk beds.
bunk
Yeah.
beds. So their grandmother had said absolutely not, no bunk beds. She thought that they were going to jump off the top, and I just listened to her. And next thing I know, there's bunk beds being donated, and well, their grandmother's not around, so I said, sure.
Yeah.
Kids want bunk beds, now they get bunk beds. Well, my daughter ends up with a teal bedroom. I'm like, well, I think she likes purple and pink. Teal, okay.
There you
God, this
go.
is what you got her.
Yeah.
Turns out that my daughter's favorite color is teal. I had no idea, but now I know.
Yeah.
She had always mentioned purple and pink, but maybe that was more of me instilling that in her and
Yeah.
decorating everything purple and pink because that's what all girls like. I did not realize that teal is her favorite color.
Yeah.
And that's her bedroom.
And they change over years too. Every year is a new color with girls usually, but yes. So it changed to teal. And
she squealed and loved it.
Wow.
And then my son, he got bunk beds too, and he was so excited. He couldn't decide if he was going to sleep in the top bunk, bottom bunk. He decided to convert the bottom bunk into a tent. And
yeah, of course, a fort.
Yeah,
why
fort.
not?
Mm-hmm. Yes. I've been shot a few times walking
Yeah.
in with his Nerf gun. Had some time out. But so he loves it, and he has this sport thing going on. And so up in their loft is my aunt's red rug. And, well, that's a very difficult piece to match, but one of the couches that was donated is red.
So
And
crazy.
it matches just great.
Crazy. Awesome.
So
yes.
downstairs, it was donated a green and a red couch. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm not sure how this is going to be put together. Well, one of the rugs that this lady from Chile had donated, it's a red and green
Wow.
autumn color,
Yeah.
which is the exact same colors of this love seat and ottoman that was donated. And it pulled it together. It looks perfect. My grandmother's painting, there was some pieces that were donated that matched the exact same colors of that painting.
Wow.
And so, yes, God does pay attention to details.
Yes, he does.
My kids walked in and they have lived on a ranch their entire life. They were used to the home that they lived in. So I wasn't sure what it was going to look like when they walked into a third of the square footage of what they're used to.
Right.
And they walked in, they loved it. It felt like home for them.
Yeah.
They knew, I had already told them, this is what our community church had put together. It was a place of love. And it has been a place of love ever since.
So neat.
And everything that I need, Austin is a very large town.
Yeah.
Everything that I need is within a 5-mile radius. And so, of course, the first thing that we picked was the church.
Right.
Church is 4.4 miles away. My job, which is important, it's 2.7 miles away.
Nice.
Kids' school is a mile away. Grocery store, 2 miles. Everything is right there.
It's like handpicked by God.
Absolutely.
Each one.
That place where we moved into was the only place available that was a 3-bedroom that would be available before school started.
Wow.
I didn't have a choice. It was
Yeah.
that place or that place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we face the green belt, so it kind of gives them that feel that, no, we're not living on the ranch anymore, but they get to see green.
Yeah.
When they open the windows,
yeah.
there's that green space that they're used to. So God knew exactly where we needed to be at in order to find that safe haven that I had been praying for over a year ago.
Wow. What an
Absolutely.
amazing story. So I wanted to get back to when you said leaning into God. What did you do exactly to lean into God? And what brought you through the forgiveness? What were the steps that you took to get to the point where you felt like, okay, like I truly do forgive?
So I had been a stay-at-home mom for 6 years now. I did work the first few years of their lives. So to be a stay-at-home mom, there is a sense of leaning into your husband. He is going to be the caregiver, the caretaker, and who's going to be the provider. And so I was looking at him to take care of all those needs. And so when our divorce was finalized, he left with no provision. There was nothing, there was no vehicle, no home, no furniture. I mean, nothing. Empty accounts. And so what I had to do was completely surrender to God. God, I don't know where tomorrow's meal is going to come from, but I'm going to trust in you that you're going to take care of it. And it was to stop leaning into people for help.
Right.
It was strictly leaning into God. And so how that was answered was, okay, God, I don't know where I'm going to get the furniture. I have a blow-up mattress and I have 2 cots. So that's what I'm walking into. And next thing I know, one of the ladies from church, Alex, it's time we're ready to take care of your physical needs. And so this is a church that had been praying for us for half a year already, even longer than that.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, I'm walking into an empty apartment. Well, okay, then let's make a list. And so that got taken care of. I would get a call or a text. I've got this. Can you use it? I'm like, sure. That would be great. Thank you.
So basically, as you were leaning in, you surrendered, which means I'm in full trust, God, that you are in full control. I'm trusting in you. And along the way, he was confirming his provision by working through the women in the church, providing you sources, resources,
Absolutely.
Furniture. Yeah, that's amazing.
I'm like, okay, Lord, I don't have a way to go buy groceries. So how are you going to help me? And then the phone would ring. Hey, Alex, I'm here at the grocery store. Tell me, what do you need?
Wow.
Text it to me.
God is good.
A friend would call me. And I'm at church and one of the ladies was like, okay, did you move into your place already? I'm like, yes. And then I told her, you're not going to believe it, but the church community furnished it. It's all, and she was a little disappointed. She goes, oh, but I had furniture for you. I'm like, no, all that is taken care of. And so then she asked me, well, have you filled your pantry yet? I'm like, no, I haven't yet. And then she's like, well, here, let me give you money. And I'm like, no, I'm okay.
Wow.
And so she empties out her wallet, which had I not accepted that at that point, the following week, that's when we go to our final settlement of the divorce. I walked away with nothing. Had I not accepted that money, I would have had no money for groceries and gas.
Wow.
For the next few weeks until
Yeah.
my employment paid for it.
Right.
So God was right there.
Yeah.
And
Because
was
you're
like,
just starting out in your job.
mm-hmm.
God knew.
And so
Yeah.
any time that I had a problem or a concern, I'm like, okay, God, here it is. I'm giving it to you. I don't know how I'm going to get clothes for the kids for school. They've outgrown everything. And I can't tell them to stop growing.
No.
And then...
Much as we'd like to. No.
Can I put a brick?
Yeah.
Can they stop? And so next thing I know, a dear friend calls me. She's like a surrogate mom to me. She's been there for the past 13 and a half years in my life. She's been there. And she sees Sarah and Jonathan as her surrogate grandchildren.
Aww.
She's like, okay, Alex, what weekend are we going shopping? I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
He's like, yes, we're going to go shopping and we're going to shop until you drop.
Yeah.
And we did.
Oh
She
my
bought
gosh.
all the clothes for the
That's
kids.
so neat.
Took care of everything and then filled our pantry.
Wow.
And so I really...
So cool.
I was able to just give it to God,
Yep.
stop worrying about it.
Yeah. And
God
he
was in control.
rewards, right?
He
and
did.
when we just walk in obedience, and part of the obedience is surrendering and trusting in him, and he rewards the obedient, right?
Another thing that I've noticed through this journey is that he also rewards when we give him all the glory.
Yes.
So one of the things that I committed myself to, because I've been on the other side where I'm helping somebody and then I don't know what happened. Not that I need to know, but I just simply don't know. And so I'm just praying and I'm hoping that their needs were taken care of. And so I'll sometimes double check, everything okay? Do you need anything? And sometimes I would get an answer, sometimes I didn't. So I never knew if the prayers had been answered. And so I was just, okay, God, you asked me to do it. I did it. And now I'm going to walk away. And so one of the things that I committed myself to is I'm going to share. I'm going to share my walk. I'm not going to stay quiet about it because it just I wouldn't be giving God the glory.
Right.
And so as the prayers got answered, then I would turn around and say, you're not going to believe it. It's taken care of.
You did. You'd text every time.
So one of the things that I had not shared about. So the furniture was being provided and just the generosity was very humbling. Back in college, the very last time that I was at a laundromat, I got robbed.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, okay, Lord, I will go to the laundromat. I'm okay. But if at all possible, could we please get a washer and a dryer so that I don't have to go to the laundromat?
Right.
And then next thing I know, not only was a washer and a dryer provided, but it actually sings this beautiful music when it's done. And I'm like, oh, what is that beautiful music? Oh, my laundry's done. Let me go take care of it.
Hey, I saw that washer and dryer. It's pretty amazing. It is spiffy.
I didn't think that a washer and dryer could be pretty, but they are pretty.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
And it sings pretty music, too.
So the forgiveness, what did you do to get to that point?
So God took care of every single need. So I was able to see now, just to finally understand what that Christian counselor was telling me, is that we are all God's daughters and sons.
Yes.
Okay. He forgives all of us. And so I no longer looked at their father as the person who had hurt me, but I looked at him with the eyes of a mother. He is God's son, and he's also the father of my children. And so it was, God is going to provide for us. God is going to take care of our needs. So I no longer have to depend on their father to take care of these needs.
Right.
And so it made forgiveness so much easier when I could see where provision was coming from. Provision was coming, love and provision was coming from God, not from people.
Right.
God was using people, was using the church to take care of it, to show his love and provision. And so I was able to forgive him for what he had done to me, for how he made a decision for divorce instead of fighting for marriage, and just let it go. And so now my conversations with him are a little bit easier. And I understand. It doesn't say to forget. So I am cautious.
Right.
I am careful. But at the same time, I don't have to be bitter. I don't have to be angry. It doesn't help me. It doesn't help my children.
Right.
And so I am able to forgive him. I'm able to have a conversation regarding the children and keep him updated. First day of school, I sent him a picture of the kids. And so keep him in loop when it regards the children.
Right.
And not only forgiveness towards him, but then there's forgiveness towards just in general. I'm living in Austin now, so there's that crazy commute.
Yeah.
Vehicles can get the drivers. Wow.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's the everyday forgiveness.
Right.
God is taking care of us. God is taking care of my children, taking care of me. So I no longer see people as either an opportunity or a hindrance, but I know now where love and provision is coming from. God is going to use people. He's going to send the people my way and in my children's way. And so I can easily forgive those that have hurt us.
Yeah.
Because God continues to send people in our lives to take care of us, to show his love. And that was another prayer that I had. I was like, God hates divorce. He doesn't hate the people in it.
Right.
And so it's a very ugly place. It's a very ugly situation to be in.
Right.
And so one of the prayers was, God, I need to feel your love. I want to feel your love. I need to know that you're there. And he sent an overabundance of people to just love on us.
Yes, he did.
And it was truly amazing. And this is from the church community to friends and family everywhere, that the love was overpowering.
Yeah. There was no room for bitterness and anger. No. I mean, really, we can go two ways, down that hardened, calloused path of anger, malice, bitterness, or we can go and lean into Jesus. And that's what you did, was lean into Jesus, and then therefore God just gave you all his love.
And there's the forgiveness towards me as well, because there's the days that I'm not very forgiving. I don't feel good about a particular situation.
Right.
And I fall right into it. And then, I need to forgive.
Yeah.
And it starts with forgiving myself first, and then forgiving the person that hurt me. And then just moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on, and then praying for that person that hurt me. And so, yes, I do pray for their dad.
Yeah.
And I pray for his family.
So good. What a influential story that you have just shared on just showing how important it is to forgive people and to look at them the way God sees them. And that's, I believe, the first step. And then praying for them increases our forgiveness, because then we're allowing the Lord's love and power to work through us to mend the hurt and the wounds. And just such an amazing story on God's goodness and how he just unfolded just every day his loving kindness and his goodness towards you, and providing for you, and just saying, look who I am. I'm your God. I'm your Father. I'm the one that will take care of you. I just love how this is going to speak to so many people's hearts, and we just have to surrender and trust him, and he shows up for us. So I just love that you came on here and shared your story. Thank you so much for listening today. I trust that God has encouraged you through this message. For more information on this ministry and to access free downloads, please visit my website at jaymeelizabeth.com and sign up. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at Jayme Elizabeth She Speaks Life. That's Jayme Elizabeth She Speaks Life. Until next time, my friends, I pray God reveals himself through your own life story.